Welcome to the Stronger Than Autoimmune Podcast. As an autoimmune warrior myself, I understand living with chronic illness isn't easy. You're not alone. This podcast was made to bring hope. I will interview individuals living with autoimmunity along with businesses and experts to provide knowledge and support. As an autoimmune coach, I understand there is no cure for autoimmune disease, but lifestyle changes can influence how we feel. So join me on being stronger than autoimmune. And shout out to all the listeners out there, because without you, this podcast would not be possible. So how can you support the podcast? I'm glad you asked. There are 3 ways to support the podcast. 1, rate on Spotify. 2, review on Apple. 3, share with a fellow autoimmune warrior so they too can have hope and be stronger than autoimmune. So let's get started. All right. Thank you, Shamikka, for joining me on the Stronger Than Autoimmune podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm just amazed by your journey. I read a little bit about you and found out that you have been able to multitask and just keep up so many balls in the air since you were about 10 years old.
Yeah, it started at about 10 is what I can remember, but it might have been a little bit younger. But I had to grow up a lot quicker than most people.
Yeah. And it seemed like it kind of helps with what you do because you're a project manager for a cybersecurity company. And would you mind just sharing why you had to grow up so fast?
Sure. So my living situation when I was a child, my parents had divorced officially when I was about 5 years old. And my mom told me that when she was pregnant with me, things started going weird with her body. You know, whenever you're going through a diagnosis with any autoimmune disease, it takes a little bit. But her being alone, the only support system she had was myself and my little brother, which were 5 years apart. So the divorce was hard on her, physically, mentally, all the way around. And then my grandmother, around the time when I was born, started to become stricken with rheumatoid arthritis. And by the time I was about 10 years old, she had already divorced and lost her home. My mom took her in. We had this little house. It was a 3-bedroom house. So me and my brother had to rotate taking turns on whose room was going to be given up. But when my grandmother was completely bedridden, and it was around that time, was when the heavy duty work started. And if anybody's familiar with the healthcare system when it comes to Medicare, because she was around, well, she started out with Social Security disability. They don't give you the proper care, meaning like they start to cut back. And
Right.
so for those days that they cut back where they normally send someone out to help her, those days that have to be filled in. When my mom was sick, then I had to jump in. There wasn't any other family members. Everyone had their own lives, and we, kept to ourselves. So that's why I had to step in and be like, okay, I can help give her a medication. I can help wash her. I can help with her bedpan, things of that nature. So that's why things happened the way that they did.
Yeah. It's so tough to see the people that you love go through suffering like that. And you eventually got diagnosed in 2012 with Sjogren's, lupus,
Yeah.
and I can't remember. It was 3 other
It's hard for me
ones.
to remember because it keeps adding on. I think I'm at like 12 right now. I said I
Oh
don't
my
want to medal
goodness.
for how many autoimmune diseases you can have, but here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it started out with lupus, Sjogren's, rheumatoid arthritis, mixed connective tissue disease, vasculitis, scleroderma, the list on and on. I've hyperthyroidism. Once you get diagnosed with one autoimmune disease, usually some others follow.
Yeah.
Not the extensive list that I have, so don't be scared, but usually you have more than one. So that's what transpired. It's just that certain things popped out at different times. You could be okay, and then all of a sudden it's like someone has a voodoo doll in a different country, and they're just like, I just want to do this to her today. And she doesn't know I'm playing with her.
Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. But you look absolutely radiant today. And you said it takes work, but I've seen your Instagram, I've seen your videos, and I don't believe that one bit.
Yeah, I mean, it takes time, but I'm that weird one where I was just in the hospital and they're like, well, what are you here for? I said, I'm here to get a biopsy. You guys are going to stick me. And they're like, but yeah, you look too pretty to get this done. I said, okay, I don't want to look the way I feel. So this is what I do.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad that you brought that up because there is that stigma of you're too young, you're too pretty. You can't be sick because you're too young and too pretty. And that's not
Yes.
fair, you know?
No, it's absolutely not fair. And I thought I was done with having those experiences. I'll probably never be done. But when I went to the supermarket the other day and I'm sitting in the driver's seat and I had my husband to go pick up my prescriptions for me, I was like, just go, I'll sit in the car. This lady, because I have a handicap placard, decides to stand there and stare at me. And I'm like, is there a problem? I'm
Oh,
just looking at where the handicap is. And I was just like, I have a handicap placard. Can you please mind your business? I'm not, I was appalled. And it was a little old lady. She literally stood and I'm like, is there something wrong with my car? Like she's just really standing there. And I had to roll the
yeah.
window down. Like, I said, okay, this, it never gets old, honestly. It's just surprising each and every time because I'm just like, when does it stop? Sometimes I lied to you not. I will get out of the car and have like a fake limp. And my husband's like, what are you doing? I just don't want people to question me today.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if people only knew how much or how little energy chronic illness people have with being sick. I mean, we only have a reserve amount of energy, and it's always about how you look and how young you are. So, thank you for sharing that story. But when you got ill, I read that you said not why, but try me. And
Yes.
tell me about what made you say that. I mean, you weren't disappointed. It was, come on, bring it on.
It was a culmination of things that just kept going haywire with my body. And I kept telling them because I knew reading and growing up with the lupus community that it may be a potential chance that I might have it. So every year I'd ask my primary doctor, can you please just check me? So it wasn't like, okay, I want this to happen. It was just, I want to get ahead of it. And at the time when things just kept happening, I lost taste in my tongue and my mouth, and my teeth were falling out, and my hair. Then I was breaking out. And I kept telling the doctor, like, I think it's lupus now. He wouldn't believe me. He kept sending me to different specialists. And when it finally happened, because it was just like a weird fluke thing where I was having things with my back. I couldn't extend my arms. I couldn't grab anything. And I had told my best friend who's a nurse, I was like, get me some prednisone because I know prednisone will make it go away. And if it does, I know for sure it's lupus. So in the midst
Mm.
of doing that, I went to an orthopedic doctor because I kept having back spasms. And when the orthopedic doctor looked at my x-rays, he's like, what are you here for? And I said, apparently I have back spasms. And he's like, you don't have anything. Well, just tell me what's going on. I told him what's going on, and he was like, you sound eerily similar to my sister who has lupus. And I was like, you are so
Mm.
weird to say that because I keep telling my doctor that's what it is. And he was like, well, I'm going to put this in the notes and refer you back to your primary and say that you need to go see a rheumatologist. Then it was in the parking lot, I get a call from the receptionist at my primary doctor who said, yeah, your ANA came back. You need to see a rheumatologist. And I'm like, okay, fine. I sat in my car, cried for like 5 seconds, and told my husband. And He was like, okay, so what are you going to do? And I was like, all right, I'm done having a pity party. I've been trained for this. Come on, try me. You don't know who you're dealing with. I've already been geared up and like trained as a soldier to know how to combat this. I got this. I got this. And I just had to give myself a pep talk. I had to let it out for a couple minutes and then just, all right, we'll see. Me and her going at it every day.
And what a wonderful attitude to have. I mean, do you think that fits into, I mean, because you travel, you work, you take care of your family. One of your sons has an acting career and you help manage that. And I'm sure, you know, you have a wonderful, it seems like you have a wonderful relationship with your husband. So what tools did you learn at 10 years old? I mean, could you expand on how you did that?
It was more so we were in the family of, you know, you're seen, not heard. So I just absorbed so much because I wasn't allowed to say, like, they treated me like an adult finally when I was 14 years old. But from that point, from 10 to 4, I just observed medical professionals coming in and out of our house all the time. And it would either be for my mother, who had in-home dialysis. It wasn't the overnight when she had hemodialysis. We had the tanks and everything in the chair, and there'd be blood stains all over the carpet. And like, that was my life. Like, regardless if I didn't want to know it, it was in my face unless I left the house. And even when I left the house, my grandmother was bedridden. So if she was home alone, she had life alert. But if she needed something, the windows would be busted out of my house if we locked the doors or the windows. So most people are inclined to lock everything.
Right.
It is a constant battle between myself and my husband when I'm like, don't lock it. Like, it's just, it gives me PTSD. Like, we have to pay for it. My mom can't afford to pay for another window that's busted through. And listening to her doctors and seeing their reaction, like I could just sit there and watch how my mother reacted to everything that the doctor would say to her and all these big words. And I'm just, you know, back then we didn't have the internet. I had Encyclopedia Britannica. So I had that set there, and I'm aging myself because there's other people that might be listening like, what the heck is she talking about?
What is that?
Yeah,
I got you,
like,
girl.
yeah. I'm like, I know I don't look that old, but
No, you don't.
Encyclopedia Britannica was back in the day, and I would go research it and be like, okay, that's that, and that's this. And it was just as a child, and even when you take it back as a parent, you just want to help. You don't, as a parent, you don't want to see your kids hurt. As a child, you don't want to see your parents hurt. You want them to hurry up. Like, what can I do to make mommy happy?
Right.
What can I do to make things better? Mom, I'll do this, I'll do that. And I had that go-to attitude where I just wanted them because they didn't smile that much. Ironically, my grandmother smiled more than my mother, and she had less things to, you know, access to getting out of the bed or having a meal with us, regular things that we take for granted. So just being able to be in the room, and I wasn't able to ask questions. I would just like, okay, if this was me, I would ask this. And keeping that in. So when I was able to have a voice, and now that I do have a voice and I constantly, people are like, why are you, you know, so vocal about it? Like, because they chose not to have a voice. It wasn't that popular back then. I think it was more like the AIDS epidemic at that time in the 80s and 90s. So lupus was a thing where it was like, what's that? Everybody knows rheumatoid arthritis because you usually can see it.
Right.
And you see my hands are like going gangsta leaning a little bit, but it's like I can't hold anything straight. So it's just like going this way.
What's up?
Yeah. It's like, what side? What's
Yeah.
up? You know? Other than things that you can't see, it's an invisible illness. So that's really why I give a voice. I always say I give a voice to the voiceless. My mom was very just, okay, take it in. She took everything in. She just kept to herself and just kept moving. And it was always help mommy keep moving. So now I I want to do that for more people and show them and let them know, like, it didn't just happen to me. I can go on each side. I can go on the parent side and I can go on the child side. So I've seen it And I think that some people might say it's a gift and a curse. I think this is what I was born to do.
Mm. Yeah, I could see that. And I also think you give so much to the community and bringing in humor about what's going on, and not only a voice, but it's really representing the people that don't feel good enough to do what you do,
Mhm.
and I know that it was a hard life. So what brings you joy now? I mean, you have such a good relationship with your son and your husband. Would you mind expanding on that?
Yeah, like even last night we were my son lives in LA now. So he's 26 years old. I have a 26-year-old, and my middle is my daughter. She's 23, and my youngest is 16 in 3 weeks. So we were just playing. We have seafood night. I like to incorporate a lot of family things. So once a month we have seafood night, but because my son isn't there, we FaceTime him. We're
Hmm.
laughing and joking for 2 hours, so he can feel like he's there. I had his cousin come over, and I was like, "You've been replaced." He's coming over here to eat my food now, and it's a good time. I'm all about family because that's basically what has been instilled in me. Even though my mom was sick, she lived for our family parties. We used to have family reunions. People don't do that anymore. We're actually going on a family reunion getaway next week. We rented a house for a week, and we're going with my husband's family. It's sometimes family is all you have, and sometimes family can be against you. I'm not saying everybody's family is great. And
Right.
the story for another day, I can go through all the drama that has been in my family up until this day.
Hmm.
Um, but it's my kids. Like, you don't know the feeling, and I'm not saying you in particular, I don't know if it's happened to you or not, but I lost my mother to lupus 22 years ago. She was only 44. And for me, I was lucky that when I got married, my mom was able to meet my husband before she passed, and she was able to meet my first two kids. But we happened to find a venue that was shared the parking lot of the cemetery where my mom was buried. And I
Oh.
walked over, and we had a place setting, and I was able to be there. That's something that is extremely rare. I wanted my mom there so bad. When I graduated college, I refused to walk because my mom wouldn't be in the audience.
Hmm.
And so my kids is what I fight for every day. I don't want to miss anything. They know,
Yeah,
like, every holiday, like, spend it with me. You don't know how much time you have. You take it for
that's
granted, like,
true.
no, I'll be there, next time. And I'm like, no, no, you're coming. They don't get sometimes that I push all these trips because me and my grandmother would spend time talking, and she would tell me about all the places she wanted to go. She didn't go anywhere. She just, looking out the window, or she had to go to an appointment and the ambulance would have to take her because, nobody was strong enough in the house to lift her. Um, that is taken for granted. And people got a little bit of glimpse of that when we were experiencing COVID. And, they're like, I want to go outside. I want to do everything. And I'm thinking to myself, like, it isn't that bad. This is temporary. This isn't your life permanently. You don't understand. So I travel a lot thinking of her. I
Oh,
have the ability to do it. And there's so many people that have the ability to do it and the means to do it, but they don't. And I don't take that for granted. I've
yeah,
seen what life can be like when things are restricted. And for as long as I can, and I don't know how long, anything could happen. It doesn't even have to be lupus. It could be I was in a car accident and I'm paralyzed from the waist down. And all you'll think about is I shoulda, coulda, woulda.
yeah,
Do it now. That's all. So that for me is my drive and my relationship with my kids. They do get, tired of it. My youngest, he is anti-travel. My other two kids, they love to travel. My daughter actually just came back from Belize for her birthday a week ago.
wow.
And she's been to Belize, Morocco, she's going to Egypt, she's going to Kenya. Like, I instill that upon them. Money will always come.
Hmm.
Money, no matter what, in some way, shape, or form, it will always come. And just remember, at the end of the day, no matter how much money you have, it will not guarantee you another day on this earth.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true.
Steve Jobs is no longer here. He could not cure cancer. And with all the money that he had, he's no longer with us. And also remember, no matter how much money you have, everybody gets zipped up in the same black bag. There are no Gucci body bags. There are no Louis Vuitton body bags. Just live. And I know it's like my Oprah moment for right now, but that's basically why we have such a good relationship and the communication that we have. And I tell them step by step. My mom didn't really tell me step by step. She was just like, come along, come on. You have to do this for me. You have to do that. I had to learn how to drive when I was 14. I was in the back of the school, in the middle school, parking all the way in the back so nobody could see this little girl that just jumped off some books in a car because I couldn't see over the steering wheel. And I have to
Oh my
go take my
goodness.
mom to the doctor later. You know, that's it. And I make them remember that this is what mommy went through and this is why I do this for you.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to have that life. You guys may see where I can't control it. Like I've done everything that I possibly could to shelter you from seeing all those things. And then it just, you're going to see me in the hospital. I just give them a call. You're going to see me in the hospital. I'm going to post about it. I'm all right. Bye.
Mm. Do you have a plan on if things get worse? Well, I mean, not to bring up negative, but
It's not negative, it's reality.
yeah, do you have a plan of, because I mean, you're a project manager. I know you're always thinking ahead and
Always.
what what is your plan? I mean, if things get worse.
I'm setting up a lot of things. The kids know about all my business ventures. We own a house in Florida. We own four properties in Mexico. Like I'm setting up a legacy. My family was horrible with money, so there is no generational wealth. It's generational debt. So I don't want that for them. We have financial advisors. Like I know at any point in time, even if I wanted to right now, if I told my doctors I'm done, I'm tired because Lord knows doing this since 10 years old, I am very tired.
Yeah.
I could go on Social Security disability at this moment, but what I do work wise is what I do professionally. No matter what, I'm always very organized. So my plan is, I have these other ventures. At some point, you have to remember you could still be useful. You could still make some money. As long as my eyes are open and I can talk, unless something happens where those two things are cut off, I should be fine. I really don't have to work. So it would be a matter of, okay, do I need care 24/7? We have very good medical insurance, so that would be set up. But the kids are all aware of, okay, this is what we get. This is what mom runs. This is what dad runs. These things have our name on it. Like my daughter just signed, we got a property the other day, and my daughter was there signing too, so she can learn. So I'm well educating
Yeah.
um,
It
my
sounds like
my
it.
tribe
Yeah,
on
yeah.
what to expect instead of I have two kids at 21 and your mother passed. There was no GoFundMe. It was go beg for me. And I don't want to put my mom in a box. So please, somebody, can you give me money? And planning a funeral and then dealing with her estate and the fact that she owed money to so many hospitals. And it was just like, you think you're an adult, but it keeps coming on.
Yeah.
So I've already been there, done that again. So my mom prepared me for a lot of things that I just didn't know this was school going on. This little bit of time she had on earth, it was school.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like you really find this loving your family, that is number one, but you love them in a way also to educate them on what's always thinking about the future also. And it sounds like, I mean, how do you juggle your work and your illness? I mean, what do you do for yourself to go to work every day when you don't feel well? I mean, what What do you do?
I'll give you the example of this morning. I work from home, which I was able to do since 2013. When I was diagnosed, my doctor, because the job that I had at the time, they had work accommodations. And when I found that out, I was like, oh my God, thank you. My doctor wrote a note that I need to rest between the hours, work hours, and stuff like that. So I gave it to HR and they approved for me to work from home. So this is even before COVID. Now everybody's like, oh yeah, work from home, work from home. Like I've been doing that for years. So I get the pleasure of literally rolling out of bed. And I know I had an appointment this morning I was going to make it at 7, which was, I don't know why I was thinking that. I made it at 7:30 and I'm like, no. I literally looked at my phone and said, no. I went on, and because I'm a manager, I can move things. So I just told the girl, hey, I'm not doing it this early. We're going to do it later. We're going to do it at 9 o'clock. I'm not ready yet. I will get up at that time, but I'm not ready to talk about business. And even as I'm talking to you, because I'm doing this from my phone, like emails are popping through and I'm just, okay, taking note of it. And when I get done, I'll deal with it. Then I know I have some other things to do, but how I take time for myself is right before this call, I was looking at where do I want to go to dinner later? Do I want to take the kids? And it makes me happy to go out and get dressed up and just feel like I'm normal. I say feel, but I'm not. Because even when I'm just coasting away and for 2 seconds, I'll let my guard down and Lupus will be like, hey, don't forget I'm here. Don't you dare forget. Because if not, when you stand up, I'm gonna make your leg go out. So I have to, just play it safe. And even though it'll be like a low symptom day, try, and I emphasize on try not to do too much. And then also, I'm still a caregiver. If I was still back in Jersey, where I'm from, I would be at the hospital right now holding this podcast because my uncle's in the hospital. My uncle has, he recently had a kidney transplant. He has HIV. He has a multitude of things, and he's okay. He's always in and out of the hospital. And I also had taken on, because he has 10 foster children. When he isn't there, they know, schools know to contact me. I handle all that. I handle a lot more than most people. And because it's happened so long, it becomes second nature to me. Mm-hmm. And I have a running list all the time, just going through like, okay, don't forget about this. Don't forget about this. Don't forget about this. Don't forget about this. It's constantly, if you can put it into perspective, like looking at your computer screen, you have 10 tabs open. I have like 50, and I'm just constantly clicking between each one. Don't forget about that one. Why is that one open? But you have to do it in order of importance. There are days where I will just, I don't even care about this today. I'm actually taking our vacation, and normally I work. So I'm not doing that. I'm going to be fully engaged with everything and just focus on managing what we need to do at the house. I'm not going to worry about work. Hopefully my uncle is out of the hospital by that time, but just always managing. And because I manage so well, it helps me manage myself, because when you are sick, you have to project manage that. You have to project manage the doctors. You have to project manage the doctor's notes. Okay, next thing, I need my x-rays. I need copies of this. Where are we at on this? You have to remember,
medication.
Yes, all of this is project management work. I even have it where all my medications, I have it on a Google Drive. Not everybody is organized as I am. I have everything on a Google Drive, share it out with my kids. So if at any given time, if I clonk out and I'm really like, I'm in a coma, God forbid, everybody knows, okay, what does she take? When was this? It has the times on it. Who are each of my doctors? They have their faces on there. I even have the doctor's personal cell phones. That's how good of a relationship I have with most of my doctors. It takes time. You have to set aside the time. And again, level of importance. Is your life important to you? Then you will take out the time to do this, because no one's going to fight harder for you than
yourself.
You.
Yeah. So what a great point.
So my life is important, and that's how I'm able to juggle, because newsflash, being sick, you can become very poor. Okay. And trying to do the healthy things are more expensive than doing the things that aren't as healthy for you. You go to McDonald's, you can get a burger and fries for like $2. But if you go to Whole Foods and you get a organic burger and everything else that doesn't have preservatives in it, that's a $30 right there for two things. So that's
Yeah.
why I work, okay? Because I want to be able to stay on this earth and have it extended. I know I'm going to perish at some point, but I want to extend it as long as I can. And that's why it's important to me to juggle all these things. Because honestly, if I could just remove work, that would be a huge weight off my shoulder.
Yeah.
I know I can't remove lupus and everything else, but if I remove that, it would free up a lot of space. So again, you have to be able to juggle. Not everybody can multitask, even just the simplest things. Sometimes I ask my husband, and he's working because he works downstairs. I work upstairs, and I'll talk to him, and he'll just be like, I can't talk to you and do this at the same time, right? I'll
Your
just
eyes
stand
twitching.
here. Yes, like, are you done yet? Can I talk? Okay, cool.
No, and I appreciate the tips. I think having those action plans, having a Google Drive, having something where if anything happens, people know what you're taking, your doctors. I mean, that is amazing. And I know since you travel a lot, what about any tips with traveling and being chronically ill? Do you have any tips you could share?
Yeah. I do, because most of the time, my girlfriend and her aunt, and I was doing this before, never ever pack your medication in your check-in. My girlfriend's grandmother, because she took a lot of medication, and I'm like, I take a lot of medication too, but I put that in my book bag. Make sure all the things that you need, just in case if your baggage is lost, number one is with you in a check-in, because it could be lost for weeks and you're in a foreign country and she happened to be, and getting those drugs, those same drugs, not every country has the same type of medical care that we do. And not only that, like, do you even know if your insurance covers international? There's so many variables to that. I always suggest, number one, when you start packing, whatever you need, even the little stuff, like you might get a headache, pack Tylenol. Something might be given to you that you're allergic to and you weren't aware of, pack Benadryl. Pack all of the emergency necessities into your backpack. Most people are just thinking of like a little blanket and some toiletries and stuff like that. That's basic for a normal healthy person. But even for a normal healthy person, put those things into your check bag. So number one, start with what is important. If you wear contacts, I wear contacts, put in my glasses just in case if something happens, or a backup pair, all the things that you can survive off of in case your luggage is lost. You can buy new underwear anywhere. You can buy a new bathing suit anywhere, but those other things that you cannot replace, put that in there.
Yeah.
Then next, when you are a chronically ill person, sometimes the sunlight affects you. Always have your sunblock. I put my sunblock on all the time. Normally, when you see me out and traveling, if I'm in the sun, 9 times out of 10, I have a hat on. I don't have a hat on for the fashion. I mean, it would help, but it's because I'm trying to have some sort of shade. And I always seem to travel with people who are much lighter than me and they want the sun. And I'm like, you're over there and I'm over here in the shade. Wherever, I don't care if I have to pay extra for a cabana. I'm not sitting. They're like, we want to sunbathe. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be, Wesley Snipes' sister. I don't want to be that dark. I can't be that dark.
Yeah.
They don't understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely hurts us in many ways that people don't understand, for sure.
Yeah, if I'm out in the sun too long, like certain people would just get sun poison. I don't get just sun poison. I'm down for the next day, the entire day, or sometimes I break out if I'm in the sun too much and I break out in hives. So Benadryl is my friend. Don't do too much. Wear comfortable shoes. Uh, you know, Most of the time, if you see me all dressed up and everything, it's for that picture I have on some heels. 2 minutes later, I put on my sneakers because I can't be walking around in those heels that whole time. My feet will kill me. I I remember to this day, my mom never wore heels, and I did not understand why until I got sick. I was like, why doesn't she want to dress up? Why doesn't she want to wear heels? Why doesn't, and all those whys that I couldn't ask are being answered slowly but surely through my illness journey.
Yeah.
And just get out there and have fun. Don't be scared. Every time I get a message, there was a girl that messaged me on Instagram maybe 2 weeks ago, and it said, "This is my first trip I'm going in a long time since I've been diagnosed, and I'm actually going alone." And I told her, I said, "Make sure you let someone know where
Mm.
you are, regardless of you're sick or not. But if something were to happen to you and you have a medical emergency and someone just contacts you and they don't get, let someone know your itinerary. It's not to be like, I want someone to follow me, but real world stuff, things happen."
Yeah.
Okay. Even if you're with somebody that you love and, anything can happen. Number one, share that. Then share your medical information with someone. Keep your stuff on a Google Drive, especially your passport. Um, I I know that because if somebody comes into your room and you put it in the safety box,
Yeah.
someone could steal it. And then you're stuck in a country like, I am who I am, but you can't prove it. So I always have everything, my license, my passport, all the important stuff. Utilize Google Drive. I know
Perfect.
that because I'm in IT.
No, that's great. I mean,
And
I never even thought about
IT,
that. Thank you.
yeah, just make sure that it's always readily accessible, because no matter what, for the most part, you'll always be somewhere where you can get some Wi-Fi. And if you aren't, then you'll be like, can you just give me access to my email, something? Jump in there. You have it. One of the times my son had forgot his ID and we were about to get on a cruise, and I sent it to my uncle, and it was able to be worked out because you have extra copies. But this is all a learning experience.
Hmm.
So when you're sick, like I said, document, document, document. Make sure you have the most important things in your backpack. And they make so many good big backpacks right now that have so many compartments. Spend some time, get organized, have some comfortable shoes in there. Um, the plane rides, I always pack a small blanket just in case. I'm not always in first class. If I feel, okay, I could splurge. I did good this week at work, I'll do that. And then they give you a blanket. But have some things, a book, something to keep your mind going. Have a hobby. Honestly, if you're sick, have a hobby and utilize that playing time to decompress, because you're not tapped in. You're not online. No one can really bother you except for the people you're sitting around. Always just spend the time with yourself. I know it's scary, but spend the time getting to know yourself. You are still yourself before that illness, and you're an altered version of yourself after it. But don't forget to, those are ways to help with your mental health.
Mm. Yeah.
So traveling for me is like good for my mental health.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
to,
yeah. That's your mental health release.
yeah.
Yeah.
They always say, like, you shouldn't build a life that you want to run away from. And I'm like, newsflash, I can never run away from this. I can
Yeah.
never. So it's not me running away. It's this is my therapy, to be by the ocean. If I was a millionaire, I would have a house by the ocean and just sit and watch the waves.
Yeah.
That's comforting, relaxing for me.
Great. Thank you for the tips. And I know you are a certified Lean Six Sigma
Lean
Black.
Six Sigma, project management professional, Scrum Master. Now I'm working on my CompTIA, that's a cybersecurity certification, in conjunction with being a certified patient advocate leader. There's a whole bunch of things. Like, I have a list of things I want. Like, I'm an ordained minister. I've always said that. I was like, oh, I want to
What?
marry people. So I went online, took classes. I had my little sash and everything. And I'm just waiting. Like, I have two friends that are getting married, so hopefully I'll be doing that in their backyard. But, I don't say bucket list because that implies that I'm going to die. It's my dream list. And my dream
Mm.
list, slowly plugging along. I want to go here, I want to go there, I want to do this,
Do you
those
think
types of things.
that's what pushes you? I mean, because
Yes.
you are, I mean, not only like you said, your family to be with them, and enjoy the time with them. But you have goals and you're just like, I'm ready for the next one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm that girl. I know what I want. I know as you give me, as soon as we get into a restaurant, people, especially my husband, he was like, I need 5 minutes. And I said, no, either I look at the menu before we got here, or when I get there, all right, I like that and that. All right, I'm good. We can go. I've always, when you don't have a voice as a child, you kind of pick up like, I like that. I like that. I like that. I had opinions, but I couldn't express them. So now
Mhm.
that I'm older, I express them. And that's why I know what I want. I know what I want to do. I know my goals. I think that everybody, or maybe it's the Capricorn in me, should have some sort of goals. When I speak to other individuals and I'm like, so what do you want to do? And it's just like, this isn't a job interview question. I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years, but this is what I want to happen in the next 5 years. Or I'm like, you can't think that far. Okay, the next 6 months. What is living if you're still just staying stagnant? And you're like,
Mm.
I'm like, no, I want to go like this because that's living.
Yeah.
That I know that I'm alive every day when I wake up in pain. I know that I'm alive. So what am I going to do about it?
Wow. You're amazing. Any tips or anything you want to share with the audience?
Yes, I do. A lot of people forget that being ill, we come to the doctors like, help me every day, help me. Every appointment that the doctor has, we tend to think about it as we get there, we wait, they take so long. I have doctor friends, and sometimes they take too long because they have to console a person that they just told they have a debilitating disease. They have cancer. They don't come in and apologize and tell you, hey, this is what happened because that's a violation of HIPAA.
Right.
But we have to remember, unless we want things to go to AI and have virtual doctors that aren't real and have no soul, you have to remember they're not like robots. They are people too. And if you hear constantly, help me, help me, help me, help me, help me, that demotivates a doctor. They went in to help people, but you forget about them. So the reason why I have such a great relationship with all of my doctors, I make them take pictures with me. You scroll my Instagram, you see pictures of my doctors. I always ask them, oh, so how are the twins doing? My one doctor has twins. Oh, they're doing great. Are you guys going somewhere? Like, engage in conversation with them. That's number one. Don't forget that your doctor is human too.
Mm.
And number two, pull some weight on your own. You can't expect for them to do everything. They may prescribe a pill, they may tell you to do some things, but you have homework. If you don't do that homework, don't get mad that the results aren't what you want them to be. Sometimes you can do all the things and things don't work out, but that's not always the situation. It's make sure you're on top of it. I used to have before electronic health records was a thing. I have a big binder, and sometimes I still put stuff in that binder because for some reason, some of the doctors like to actually look at things and not just scroll through, and that helps. But make sure you have all of your records together. If you have multiple doctors, now I just have all my apps together. I have them listed down what their username and passwords are. Because for the life of me, every time I make a new password, 5 seconds later, I forget what the heck did I just put in. So I have to automatically like do something. Sometimes I'll do it on my phone and I'll just text myself and
Yeah.
I can search it later. And if I don't, I automatically put it on my Google Drive. But keep up to date, do your part. And health is not just taking a pill or running every day or anything like that. It's what you eat, what you are around. If you're around toxic people, some way, shape, or form, that toxicity is going to leak out onto you. Eliminate, take some time for yourself, do all the things, take the pills, talk to the doctor, follow up, but do stuff on your own to help you. Research. You can't expect it. Like, I didn't know that. Do your research. Every time a new drug is presented to me, I tell the doctor, thank you. Do the prescription. I'll pick it up if I feel as though after reading up on it, because sometimes they don't have pamphlets about it. I'm going to read up on it, see what the side effects are. I'm going to review it. Now there's a whole bunch of websites that review each medication, go through that. And if I feel as though this is something right for me, I will pick it up. But I don't automatically, oh yeah, we're going to write you a script for this. Okay, great, and fill it. Do your research.
Yeah.
Take responsibility for your healthcare. Read about it. Oh, I didn't know this was going to happen with this. How many times do you hear that? Oh my God, I didn't know this side effect was going to happen. And then you immediately call the doctor. Well, did you do your research? Did you see that this may cause this?
Yeah.
I put the onus, being a project manager instilled upon me that you have to take accountability. As a project, I have people doing this, and this. Same thing with real world. I have my doctor doing this. I have the technicians doing this. I have this. Okay, if things don't go right, I have to take responsibility a little bit and be like, okay, let's review this. What could I have done better? So everybody needs to play a part in their lives and be a project manager. We just don't look at it that way. And that's when people come to me. I also do career counseling, and I can tell, why don't you consider project management? It's really easy. It's easy because if you can navigate your life, right? And if your life isn't like a whole bomb going off. I have friends that are great professionals, highly intelligent at work. When they step out of work, their life is a hot mess. And I'm like, how does this?
It's not connecting.
Yeah. Can you make the math for me right now? It's not. So get it together. Like, why don't you see that those two should be together? And they're like, no, we separate it. I'm like, but at least your real life should be more important than the paycheck, because you're paid every day that you wake up.
Yeah.
Every day you wake up, here's your check. Here's your check. You have 24 hours, maybe 10 hours. God has something else in store for you. What are you going to do with that money? I'm going to use this money and do this. Think about it that way. Yeah. That's what I want to leave people with.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for your time. I know, again, very busy, and I hope we stay in touch, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. You too. Happy Friday, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed the episode. As an autoimmune coach, I know what you track on a daily basis makes a big contribution to your symptoms and flares. If you're interested in a free tracking app, go to Isla Health. And like you, I've been hearing a lot about the health benefits of mushrooms lately, but don't care too much for the mushroom coffee. That's why I started taking BioVale Myco from Adapt Naturals. It's a blend of 8 mushrooms, including reishi, chaga, lion's mane, cordyceps, in a convenient capsule form. I get the benefits of mushrooms: more energy, sharper focus, and stronger immunity without having to give up my delicious Java. For a limited time, the folks at Adopt Naturals are offering my audience 15% off their first order. So just go ahead to adaptnaturals.com/DEZ15 to learn more and get started. Until then, stay stronger than autoimmune.